10 seconds remaining.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the best of two set we have going between Team Coast, now on the Radiant. Power Rangers are on the Dire. This is from Join Dota League Season 3, the Division 1 of Europe. I'm going to be one of your casters. I'm Mike Loris, and I'm joined still by Blackadder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and off the back of that first game, I think we all want to see if Power Rangers can come in and show us they can hold back the overwhelming tide of Team Coast, considering these two have another tournament to play in quite literally straight after this. They'll be playing each other, I believe, 5 games potentially in a row, because I believe they're about to go into a best of 3 against each other.
Well, I don't think it changes the dynamic of this game too much. Like, it's not like you're going to hold out with your strategies or whatever, but looks like we do have a draft, and it's going pretty quickly right now. Team Coast, well, they're once again going to go for, well, I mean, they have the Faceless Void on their side, Death Prophet as well, who got third band out in the last set, so going to get a good amount of pushing, going to get a good amount of team fight off of that, but Power Rangers, they're going to get their hands on the Batrider this time, so the initiation edge isn't going to be fully in favor of Team Coast.
No, not fully in favor of Team Coast, I will grant you that. And Power Rangers with the Razor, with the Batrider, they can be looking for much the same style that Team Coast did last time. Look for the pickoffs with the Bat and then push in with the Razor, but still, Faceless Void and Death Prophet is one very powerful combo, and we all know how painful it is to fight into that one. Equally, we do see a ban on that Vengeful Spirit, the Shadow Shaman taken away once more. They don't want to give Frigg Elite that. Disruptor, however, banned out by Team Coast, and now they have one more to go, and they'll take away the Tinker, leaving the Earthshaker.
One of the last real premier supports still in this game, Earthshaker, is in Wraith King, is still in the pool, though it wouldn't be too bad for Power Rangers. I really like the bans from Power Rangers, actually. The Shadow Shaman would have gone great with the Death Prophet and Faceless Void. All of that works so very well in the Chronosphere, and then when you are going for pushing, those Serpent Wards, they really, really hurt. And then the Vengeful Spirit, I would say the best counter to the Batrider Lasso, but it's a little bit debatable. I think just having that another swap at the ready is the best you could hope for. Earthshaker Fissure is decent enough. They could also go for a Shadow Demon or whatnot, but it looks like Team Coast, they're going to go Earthshaker Jikiro and Power Rangers with the Ancient Apparition. I like where Team Coast are going with this one. Lots of pushing.
Lots of pushing indeed. I mean, you've got Liquid Fire on top of the Death Prophet's Exorcism now, but I will point out you've got Faceless Void with the Chronosphere, then Macropire by the Jikiro. This is one of the old school combos that I wish we saw more of lately. And with Jikiro starting to rise up in terms of popularity, it's happening occasionally, but still, it's just a blast from the past for me. However, we do get a curious pick here from Power Rangers. They pick up the Wisp. So what could they be looking to pair with that?
As much as I hate to say it, I think Wisp Tiny is just still the best partnership here. If they do end up pairing the Wisp with the hero that they have yet to pick up, because against Faceless Void, Tiny is one of the few heroes that doesn't really care that he's in the Chronosphere, because once he has a couple points in that Craggy, then Faceless Void is going to need the BKB active in the Chronosphere in order to actually do damage to the Tiny. Of course, he can kill off everyone else who he catches in the Chronosphere, but I think for Power Rangers, it'll probably be their best bet. I don't know if no one else really comes to mind.
They could opt for the classic CK, but I think Tiny would be the better option here at this point in time. From where we sit, though, we've got one more ban remaining for Power Rangers, and what would you ban if you were Power Rangers at this point?
Well, Coast are going to be needing another core hero for now, and it looks like they are rather push-slanted. You said that Solon was very well known for the Chenchantress. Don't really think that's going to be the case. Nature's Prophet still in the pool, and I think that would be just a really easy pickup for Team Coast if they do want to go all aboard this pushing train.
Steph Style is the one who plays the jungling heroes, but we do see the Darkseer here, which will most likely be handed to Solon, and that will potentially be their offlane. Then they'll get their potential safe lane try, Faceless Void, Jikiro, Earthshaker, and mid-Death Prophet. Then again, this is Team Coast, and they have flexible heroes in terms of what goes where, so it would not surprise me if we see something a little bit more unorthodox. And final pick towards Power Rangers, we're looking to see something that can work well with a Wisp. And we reckon it's a Tiny, but are they going to show us something unorthodox, I wonder?
It's a Pudge? Oh my gosh. I don't think so. But, the Darkseer pickup is a hero that is seen a lot less, but he's still always around. they have a pretty nice wombo combo going on with the Chronosphere. If you could drop a Chronosphere, drag everyone in, and then put some Macro Pyre underneath them with the Death Prophet spirits working, Power Rangers, they're not that tanky. Razor is fairly tanky. Wisp can keep someone alive, but if Wisp is caught up in that, then he's going to probably be the first one to die, or if not the Ancient Apparition. It'll be a pretty nice race to see who could die first, but Team Coast, they have a lot of team fight, and the Darkseer, not exactly the most push-oriented hero, though he can clear the creep waves pretty easily if he does get a little bit of creep cutting going early on. The Team Coast side could team fight with the best of them, and they could push as well.
But yeah, I could completely agree with you on that one, and it wouldn't surprise me. But then again, we do have Power Rangers waiting through a lot of their time. They're planning this one out, maybe thinking if they want to go with something more unorthodox. I mean, the CK does come to mind, but likelihood of seeing it pretty slim. I mean, other options that go with IO very well. I mean, Sven on the rare occasion, but the only one I can think that does that is EG.
We also get Ursa, which isn't that great versus Darkseer, and boring. Tiny is going to be the pickup. I think the CK would have been a perfectly reasonable pickup, especially against the Darkseer. Surge gets a lot worse when you're dealing with Reality Rifts and the potential very long stun. And then Ancient Apparition for the extra damage on top, so you get the Ancient Apparition CK combo, which is one of the old tried and true dual lanes that's been around in Dota ever since Ancient Apparition was added. But Tiny is going to be the pick, and Power Rangers, well, do you think they're going to be laning a dual lane mid with the Tiny Wisp here?
No, I honestly don't think so. I mean, they're going to need either the Razor or the Bat Rider mid, most likely against the Death Prophet, because if you put the Death Prophet up against the Tiny and Wisp, both Tiny and Wisp have 0 base armor, so the right-click harass is going to hurt them, plus the Crypt Swarm on top of that. I don't think that's the viable choice here to put Tiny mid.
Yeah, it's always kind of unsettling to see that versus the Death Prophet. She does have quite a bit of base damage, especially if she goes for an opening Null Talisman, which is fairly common, so she'll be able to outlast hit and out-harass the Wisp and Tiny pretty handily, but we're going to have yet another pause to open up this game. But yeah, Power Rangers, they have a good amount of initiation. They have the Wisp Tiny Relocate, which is always a devastating combination, but is it enough to combat against the Coast side, who could get off the ground fairly early and start taking the towers of Power Rangers? Tiny's decent early on, but outside of that burst combination, he'll just get torn apart.
Well, the way I look at it with Coast's lineup, they're going to take towers early and mid-game. If the game goes late, there's a reason why many casters, ourselves included, say you can never count out Wisp Tiny. Mm-hmm. If this goes late, PR, in my mind, have an advantage, considering they will also have that Razor there, who will most likely have the Aghanims, as well as the Refresher, and on top of that there is an AA. And AA only needs one item, Ags. Ags on AA is potentially the best, if not by far the best, Aghanims upgrade in the entire game. Without a doubt.
Meepo, what do you think?
Bite me.
It's I still think Ancient Apparition's ultimate is probably the strongest. At least it's like the most impressive change from before Ags to Ags. Like, there are so many other heroes that benefit a lot from it. Like, I think Enigma's Black Hole upgrade is really huge, but it's just that doesn't really fit in with what Enigma wants to be doing. But Ancient Apparition, the Aghanims, it fits exactly with where he wants to go, and it's probably the most common core item picked up from Ancient Apparition. Like, the mech will be picked up by hopefully the Razor, so Ancient Apparition doesn't have to make any stops for those types of items. Should be just a straight gun towards the Ags.
Yeah, I would expect the same. A straight gun towards the Aghanims. Then maybe, and I stress maybe, Ewells could be picked up by J4 instead, first item, considering how that helps with the cold feet. But I'm more inclined to see the straight Ags this game. And we are having the teams take their lanes, so let's quickly introduce the players once more, shall we?
Oh yes, we shall. Frigolite is going to be playing on the Coast side as the Earthshaker, currently roaming around with 8 Mothers, Faceless Void. Once again, he will be handling that hero. E-Skills going to be heading mid as the Death Prophet, most likely, though does have Boots of Speed, kind of uncharacteristic for Death Prophet openings. Steph Style is going to be on the Jakiro, and up top it's going to be Solin's Darkseer.
And they might actually catch Moon out here. Are we going to see a time leap up for aggression with the Fisher? No, I think they're just going to force him out. Then again, Frigolite taking aggressive posture. No, they're not going to catch Moon. And I hate you, by the way, because you took Coast, meaning I've got the hard ones to pronounce. For Power Rangers,
Good luck.
we have over on the Razor, the one that I can't pronounce. I want to say Sashko? Razor.
Call him whatever you want, man. Doesn't matter.
Over on the Ancient Apparition, we've got J4. On the Tiny, we have Moon. And then in the off-lane role, we've got the Batrider played by Cheshire Cat. And finally, rounding out the side of Power Rangers, we've got We Just Sick. And I'm going to try to figure out how to pronounce this.
I think it's only the Razor that has a really hard name for Power Rangers. And
Sashlo. I'll go with Sashlo. That makes the most sense, at least in my mind. We've got Sashlo on the Razor.
Yeah, just double up on that SH sound. Sounds good to me, but we got Wisp Tiny versus the Death Prophet, and Death Prophet has actually gone for level 1 Boots of Speed, perhaps in preparation for a 1v1 matchup against Razor, but it'll be okay versus this Moon and We Just Sick dual lane, but she'd rather have the large base damage given by a Null Talisman. But meantime, bottom lane, they're going to open up very early on in Cheshire Cat. They have a Fissure, but he's already down in the waterfall kind of river area, so he should be fine unless he just times out his Firefly here. Steph Style was acting like he doesn't have an Earthshaker right next to him, so they're just going to wait this one out. Firefly's going to run out as soon as the Invis Rune does, so just a little bit of damage being thrown back and forth.
And they're threatening it still. They just want to push back Cheshire Cat a little bit, and with the Batrider, you have to honestly play defensive with this. Sure, you have Firefly, you can get over the Fissure, but the damage potential coming out of Steph Style and the rest of Coast, you can't underestimate it at level 1, but nonetheless. In the mid lane, we do have that dual Tiny Wisp mid, which I didn't think we would see in this game, up against E-Skills on that Death Prophet, and I wonder greatly with how this is actually going to go, since Death Prophet should beat this lane hands down. Her right click, fairly nice. Considering equally that both of these heroes have 0 armor on the side of Power Rangers, E-Skills should have a defined advantage in my mind.
I feel like teams sometimes just go for this dual lane mid just because they can go for it. Like if they had Wisp, Tiny, Ancient Apparition up on top with the Razor in the mid lane, that would be perfectly serviceable as well. Of course, the Wisp does, in theory, get access to stacking up a whole bunch of camps, which he would be doing if they weren't currently blocked right now. Actually, Cheshire Cat is going to catch Steph Style with a Haste Rune. Doesn't have any spells active, though. It's only level 1 Batrider, and Steph Style, as far as int heroes go, is rather tanky on that Jakiro, so he should be just fine, though. He's going to take a lot of right clicks from this Batrider. He can't get the kill. Batrider without Tar is not an impressive hero, so it'll still be 0-0 right now, but Cheshire Cat having a decent enough time on this bottom lane. He is not getting that much experience. He's definitely not getting as good a time as Solon. Kind of to be expected, but Batrider's not being completely pushed out of lane.
No, he's not being completely pushed out of lane, and if he gets levels and experience, that's pretty much all he cares about. Gold for him is a bonus in this lane. Same for most off-laners. Gold is a bonus, not a requirement. And Cheshire Cat will easily be able to farm up said gold either way, considering the Firefly and all of these creeps under the towers. He loves this kind of thing. As long as he's at his tower, he is fine and dandy. But if we look around the map elsewise, we haven't really discussed this top lane much. Solon on the Darkseer up against the Razor of Slashco. Never mind. And, of course, J4 on the Ancient Apparition. Honestly, Solon is having, in all honesty, the time of his life. He'll take some harassment and some right-click damage from J4, but Solon is tanky enough on the Darkseer at this point, and the Iron Shell will be enough to secure him some farm. He's going to be looking for early Soul Ring, which he'll get at least very quickly in my mind, and from there looking for that mechanism. And picking up the mech on the Darkseer does free up the supports and the Death Prophet to go for the earlier things like the Ewells in the case of the Death Prophet, or other core items. But still, Solon just playing mind games with J4 right now. And J4 actually taking a lot of physical right-click, and that's one thing you've got to remember about Darkseer. He has a large base damage right-click even.
Yeah, those punches hit pretty damn hard, and well, he's tanky enough to withstand an entirety of a chilling touch, and he was not really phased by that. Cheshire Cat's being chased down by Steph Style. Dual Breath going to slow him down just a little bit, with the Firefly to get through the trees. Steph Style not really willing to chase, although Friggly does have a Fissure. They can't kill off this Batrider. It's going to be in the mid lane where the first blood might happen. E-Skill's being chased down by this Tiny Wisp combo, bottling through it, but he's now out of charges. One more punch from Moon, who also hits really hard with his punches. We Just Sick almost going to die, but will survive in the end. First blood going the way of Power Rangers. Their dual lane is absolutely destroying this Death Prophet.
I honestly expected E-Skills to do a little bit better against the Tiny Wisp combo. I mean, I mentioned the physical right-click into heroes with no armor. You've also got the Crypt Swarm to harass, but maybe getting a little too overzealous in my mind.
Death Prophet still going to get those levels up, so even if she does not have the best laning phase, she will, in theory, be able to recover by using the Exorcism and pushing towers. But just going back to the Power Rangers laning assignments, Ancient Apparition, he's, I think, the strongest when you get to use that Chilling Touch, so that's usually involving a tri-lane. He's going to be poking at the Darkseer, but it's not really doing enough to force the Darkseer out convincingly, and well, he can't actually get the kills going with the Razor, even if he does have all the damage in the world, because they're dealing with the Surge. They have no disables, and unless the Darkseer makes a crucial mistake up on top, they're probably not going to kill him, at least until they get the relocate. Once that happens, then Avalanche Toss, and that's a dead Darkseer. But until then, the Surge is going to keep Solon 100% alive.
I will completely agree with that, and Solon should have the time of his life up here, really. He's just taking the hard camp again, but now we get the rotation in from the Razor trying to just force out Solon, and will do so at least temporarily. My point here, though, is when you've got the AA who's just stacking and pulling repeatedly, he's getting the levels. He's almost level 4. He's going to have a very reasonably timed level 6 for a support. A solo support, no doubt. And if he can just maintain that level 6, he can then start sniping with that Ice Blast, and that's going to be everything to from 2J4. But now we get another initiation on mid. They're looking for E-Skills, but the Fissure from Frigolate comes in, and they're going to look for Moon. Throw back off on E-Skills onto Ouija, but still, it's more than enough to clean up the Death Prophet in this case.
It's another kill going the way of Tiny. He's sitting on power treads, so he is hitting pretty quickly, though now with the grow up, he's going to be hitting a little bit slower, but harder. Totally worth it, and he, together with that Wisp, are running a train over this mid lane. Crucially, this Wisp is getting many levels off of this. Being unable to stack the camps as the Wisp is always fairly crippling, because not only does the Tiny get less farm, but also you, as the Wisp, you get fewer levels, so your 6 is going to be delayed. It's going okay, though, because even though he's not getting those stacks, he's getting kills, which is obviously not something that you could prepare for, but is something that's really nice to have.
And we do have that bottle on IO as well, so he's just continually healing up Moon. Sure, he's getting those levels through the kills, and how it stands right now, we almost have that level 6 up on Ouija, so it's only a matter of time before we start to see relocate ganks. And not the early game Coast we're looking for.
Those relocate ganks will almost coincide perfectly with the Ancient Apparition hitting his level 6, so they'll throw an Ice Tracker, and then whoever gets relocated upon, I mean, 8 Mother might survive, Solon might survive, but if all the skills land correctly, then Coast, every single hero has to watch their back, because the global potential from Power Rangers from the level 6 point onward is intense. Now they're going to go for E-Skills once again. The toss back, not going to be there, as the Fissure from the Earthshaker is going to, this time, completely save the Death Prophet. And it looks like everyone from Power Rangers is going to back off of that, but you know, they didn't even invest that much. They're just pressuring E-Skills and keeping the Earthshaker in this area. He's only level 2. He can't really afford to leave, else the Death Prophet's just going to die again.
Yeah, I would be fully inclined to agree with that one. He has to play that defensive Earthshaker role. That's one of the best things about the hero. His defensive ability rivaled only by one hero, and that really is the Shadow Demon. Those two heroes are so good in the defensive support role. But nonetheless, from where we sit right now, if we were to look at the gold graphs, 8 minutes in, sure, it's early, but it's still a slow graph building the way of Power Rangers in both gold and experience, 1,000 and 2,000 respectively.
And the Bat Rider is actually benefiting pretty largely from the fact that Coast are going for this very early push with the Jakiro Liquid Fire. Like, it's what you want to be doing with Jakiro, but at the same time, it is giving Cheshire Cat in many levels. He's level 6. He's actually overtaken the Darkseer, who has been getting just a lot, or seemingly a lot, out of the lane. But, you know, Bat Rider sitting and jacking a couple of the neutral creeps. He's been getting quite a bit, given the circumstances down in this bottom lane, and he's well on his way to his Blink Dagger. He doesn't exactly need that Blink Dagger. I mean, it could wait for a little longer. However, now the Chronosphere is going to drop. The Jakiro's not going to be able to put much damage into Cheshire Cat, and there's no more other heroes. Here comes the Wisp for that extra bottle, and the last is going to land on 8 Mother with the Tar. They're going to burn this Face Void down, as Tiny also comes from the south, killing off the Jakiro, and now 8 Mother's trapped in the trees. He's going to go down to the Wisp. That's your level 6 right there, and the roaming combination of Tiny Wisp, well, they didn't have relocate, but sometimes you just don't even need it.
Yeah, indeed, and that's another 2 kills going by Power Rangers. 0 and 4 in their favor right now, and as we stand, this is a staggeringly large lead beginning to develop. They're killing off the core heroes, they're killing off E-Skills on that mid. The only one they haven't managed to kill off reliably is Solon, but he has been playing so defensively on that Darkseer. and he is working on his way towards that mechanism now. He's got 600 gold available to him. He could full out buy the headdress at this point, but I should think the first item he's going to want is that buckler.
Yeah, he's going to have that one soon enough. Shlo is, well, I think going for a mech as well. He's stopped for power treads, which is not always a detour that we see, usually just straight up mech, but power treads is decent enough to get. He's sitting on quite a bit of gold, so we might even see another detour in the drums. I don't know if I would like that much, but he's been getting quite a bit of farm on top lane, and he's doing okay on the net worth as well, sitting third. Behind the first place, Tiny, it's a perfectly reasonable place to be as the Razor. Now Moon with the Wisp, going to be clearing a couple stacks that the Ancient Apparition made for them before. Ancient Apparition left alone on top lane, very soon to have his level 6, and they have relocate. So bottom lane, the Jakiro's really got to be careful.
I'm going to be paying quite a lot of attention towards this bot lane now, because this, in my mind, is where the kills are going to come in. They're going to send the Ice Blast bottom lane. They've got the Blink Dagger nearly complete onto Cheshire Cat as well. It's getting to the point where Coast need to start playing this very carefully. One step out of position, relocates will then happen, and they will lose a hero. The same for Ice Blast. They can predict the Ice Blast first and then relocate after the Ice Blast lands. They don't need to commit the relocate first with their lineup. It's one of the nicer things about it. But the slow siege is still being applied to this tower, and I'm wondering if they're going to get the tower before we see a relocate gank on this lane.
I think, well, they're going to hold the fortification for now. So now that the tower's in deny range, Cheshire Cat's going to try to take that one out. Though, well, there's the fortification. I would expect the Ancient Apparition to fire his ultimate any second now, but it looks like it'll just be a clean deny on this bottom lane. I guess there's no sense risking a Tiny Wisp relocate when you could just take a deny and be perfectly happy with that. Still, they're going to be looking for targets, but I think now it might be on the mid lane instead of bottom.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. They're going to go straight on to E-Skills. They're forcing him right out of the lane once more. E-Skills has not had his best time here. He's only got 900 gold. Normally, I would be expecting him to have a Staff of Wizardry and half of a component extra towards a Yule's at this point on his Death Prophet. But this game, against this level of damage, do you go for BKB first, in all honesty, on the Death Prophet, to give you more survivability and that potential for magic immunity?
I don't know. I mean, even if you do get a BKB, you're going to be facing down a ton of physical as Death Prophet, plus the Bat Rider Lasso. So it's by no means an end-all item for the Death Prophet, and it looks like it is going to be a Yule Scepter first, so she's not going to deviate much from the usual plan. She's going to pop the Exorcism and do a little bit of damage to Moon, but the toss back on the Death Prophet going to put it back into tower range, move and drop it pretty low, will go down. We just can't bottle up and save the Tiny, and he's burning down slowly, but the Dual Breath Liquid Fire won't be enough. Tiny's going to go down. They do defend their tower from most of the Exorcism, but it's still going to take a little bit of damage as Steph Style is here with the Liquid Fire. Power Rangers, they can mount a defense, but I don't know if they want to.
Well, Eight Mother's lurking here as well. And he did go for the route with a Midas, so it would not surprise me to see him go for maybe a Rush BKB on the Void, just for safety either. But then again, we could see the Maelstrom. Ice Blast going to connect onto 3 heroes, but there's no follow-up at this point. We need to see follow-up when they commit this many heroes. They're going to clean up the tier 1 mid, bring down the Tiny, and what was a 0-4 is now a 1-4 with several towers. But now, we just will TP in, and they just go straight into a Chrono. They lose the Wisp. Now they could potentially lose the Tiny, but they'll bring down the Void in exchange. So, equal trades in some respects, considering how much farm this Wisp has been getting, but it's still a core Void to fall, and in all honesty, a good reaction by Coast to drop the Chrono, but they needed to disengage quicker after that kill.
Yeah, they have to respect this burst potential with Tiny. He does have the Wisp combination, so it's very easy to say that it's the Tiny Wisp combination you have to be scared of, therefore take out the Wisp and Tiny's not going to be a threat. Later on, maybe that holds true, but as it stands right now, Moon is able to 100 to 0 pretty much anyone with his Avalanche Toss combination, and he does have that level 1 grow on top of that. With one more right click to cap it off, there are not many heroes in the game that can withstand this combination at this point in the game, let alone on the Coast lineup. So if you get too close to the Tiny, whether it's by trying to kill off his Wisp and the Chronosphere or whatnot, any way you get close to him, you have to be careful, because if you get thrown up into the air with the Avalanche, you're going to take a lot of damage, you're probably going to die.
And the one thing I will point out here, soon we will have points on Moon into Craggy Exterior. But meantime, mid, we do see that potential aggression. They will finish off the Death Prophet in half a second. I'm guessing he'll caught out position by the Bat Rider?
Yeah, Bat Rider got the lasso in as soon as the Ancient Apparition threw his secondary blast, so easy kill on the Death Prophet there.
It's one of the downsides of the Death Prophet. If she gets caught out of position, she is so dead. She doesn't have any natural escape other than her high movement speed with Witchcraft, and From where we stand, it's rough as we get mid lane fight again. This time onto the Razor, he'll take a Liquid Fire, he will take a Fissure, but there's no follow up after that. And what can Coast honestly do? They're 2 and 6 down in terms of gold. Let's take a look at the graph. 500 in their favor. Actually, they're not doing too bad. And Solon now will be initiated on, but in comes an Ice Blast, going to land on Solon. He will potentially go down off the back of that one, but a Fissure will clean up the Wisp. Can they find Moon as well? I'm not sure they can. And Solon, in the meantime, will survive completely with more than enough health to get out without a threat, and he's going to go back and regen. So he was potentially bait right there. I mean, they're trying to kill Solon and failing to do so.
And Mech got his Darkseer off, I believe, right before the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast landed, so he did get the effects of that heal. And now with the Exorcism being popped by Death Prophet, they'll very easily be able to take down this Tier 1 tower. Darkseer did a lot of creep cutting earlier, so it was at a very low amount of HP to begin with. So Exorcism going to be committed, not going to be completely necessary in the end, but hey, a tower is a tower, and you can't really complain about that. Coast, they still have a Chronosphere, and they still have that huge Wombo combo that we haven't seen come together just yet. So even though Power Rangers have quite a nice start in this game, if they get caught in a Chronosphere, in a vacuum, and everything like that, then they could very easily be cleaned up. But bottom lane 8 Mother, he's being chased down, he will drop a Chronosphere and then TP out. Everyone from Power Rangers just forced to sit there and watch. Not the ideal usage of Chronosphere, not by any means, but your Faceless Void at least gets to survive.
And, well, that's a good thing, considering that this has given him time to pick up that Mask of Madness. He's now going to be going for that BKB I mentioned earlier. He wants to tank up, he wants to get some survivability, but for 8 Mother, I'm wondering if it's starting to become too little too late. Sure, gold, we see a slight lead for Coast, and I say slight, it's only 3k, easily recoverable here by Power Rangers. Power Rangers have the late game power, and I'm tempted to disregard the graphs entirely at this point, because when we see this Tiny come online with that Aghanims, with Ouija backing him up on that Wisp, is it going to be enough from Coast to hold back the potential Aghanims Tiny relocate split push strategy?
Well, Tiny and Wisp need a little bit more time, so Coast, even though they are going to be facing down that extremely scary late game, it's not going to come for a couple more minutes. So they will have time to make some plays, take a couple of towers, and get a better control over this game. With the Faceless Void, using Chronosphere defensively, though, that's not going to happen. They need to use this Chronosphere pretty much as soon as it's cooled down, every single time, to get a kill at the very least on the Power Rangers side. And in order to do that, it should be on the Wisp, ideally, or on the Tiny, ideally, rather. Slow down that Aghanims and try to just delay that late game from Power Rangers as much as possible, while at the same time using the fact that they have Liquid Fire level 4 and a very strong Exorcism to take down towers. So Coast, they are definitely on a clock, but it's not a clock that is impossible, because Power Rangers, though they are ahead, aren't 100% guaranteed to win this game, not by any stretch.
Yeah, I'll completely agree with you on that one. I mean, hell, you never call a game till the Ancient falls, pretty much. I mean, it's a horrible thing when that happens. I mean, just in general, I mean, why would you call a game when either side have such potential? But from where we sit, what do we have coming up across the board, item-wise? I mean, for the Darkseer, he's got his mechanism, potentially going for that pipe next. Over on the Chikiro, he's going to be picking up most likely Arcanes at some point in the near future. On the Void, we mentioned the BKB. Over on the Earthshaker, he's going to be looking for that Blink Dagger. In my mind, that's going to be the next thing, the next big thing. He needs a Blink. On the Death Prophet of Eastkills, he finally does have that Yule Scepter. And from here on in, I'm thinking BKB time. BKB for Eastkills should be the next big item in my mind. Sure, he needs the health and he needs the immunity, but what else could you go for? I don't think there is anything. And that does flip us over to Power Rangers. We do have that Blink Dagger and nearly a force onto Cheshire Cat. On the Wisp, what have we got? He's just going to be playing that 5-roll. He's just doing what he can. He's got himself that bottle. He's got his wand. I would not be surprised to see potentially just Arcanes on him and just a 5-roll Wisp. On the Tiny, he wants the Aghanims. We know that. Over on the Ancient Apparition, we have a Hand of Midas recipe.
Huh. Well,
Thoughts, Mike?
It's rather late for Hand of Midas. It's not a hero that could benefit from the attack speed, so it's just going to be purely in order to boost his gold and experience income. A high-level Ancient Apparition with a lot of gold means that your Ice Blast is going to get to level 3 with an Aghanims upgrade. So I guess this is kind of just insurance that says he's going to be getting to that point eventually, but it does slow it down for now. I actually don't mind it. I mean, 16 minutes in, it is late for a Midas, but for a support, he could be doing a lot worse, I would say.
Okay, I will grant you that, but still, that recipe costs napkin math a lot of gold. I can't even think right now. That recipe does cost a lot of gold. That could be a point booster, and that could be giving him some stats.
Well, at the same time, even though they could be getting that, Power Rangers, they're gearing for the late game. They have the tiny wisp, so if you know that you're going to try to draw this game out with the occasional pick from the Batrider, I think the Hand of Midas is an okay way to go in it, because you will be guaranteed that Aghanims and even more items on top of that.
Okay, I can see that reasoning, but it just makes me think he is so squishy at this point, and we could have a fight breaking out in the spot lane. Fisher to block off Moon. We need to see some support nearby. He does have the Wisp, who can just tether in, and they're going to try to get the tower. They will do so. No Chronosphere, however, to be deployed. It's still on cooldown for another 27 seconds, but relocate over into the mid lane, looking for the Death Prophet, looking for E-skills, but can he escape this one? No, not a chance. Not with Cheshire Cat ready with that all-important Batrider.
We just going to get yanked back, and fortunately enough, well, he's only getting hit with the fissure, but now 8 Mother's going to jump in. I thought Wisp might find some time to escape that, but Wisp getting yanked back into 3 heroes, never a good place to be if you're a Wisp, hell if you're anyone. But a Death Prophet for a Wisp, definitely going to be worth it for Power Rangers. The Wisp definitely hurting because he's been dying so much, but after getting kills, so he didn't actually lose any potential experience or gold there from kills or whatnot. So he's going to be happy with that exchange, and Power Rangers going to accept that loss. Then, well, they're just going to get this tiny more and more gold. Let's see if he's any closer to the Aghanims. He actually just has it completed right now. So Tiny's going to grab the tree, and he's going to be hitting pretty damn hard. And with Overcharge level 4, he's going to be hitting pretty damn fast as well.
Yeah, towers are now going to be the order of business here for the Wisp Tiny combo. Hell, they can still burst down heroes, sure. But it's the tower gold they need. They need to develop that. If they can develop that tower gold, then they can start looking toward maybe an AC, maybe a Manta on the Tiny. These two items would not surprise me in the slightest. But
yeah, anything
it's going to be up to Coast to hold them, and they have the ability to hold their towers, considering they've got the Darkseer, who's going to get his level 2 wall. Ooh, didn't get level 2 wall at level 11. Okay. That one surprised me. I honestly expected him to get level 2 wall up just for the extra illusion damage and cast range, but apparently not.
Yeah, Darkseer Wall is actually one of the few skills that some people even delay until the 10-11 mark, but I don't really think it's going to matter. He will probably hit level 12 and get that level 2 wall eventually without even using it, so hopefully for his sake he doesn't need to use the wall beforehand. And well, with the way this game is shaping up, it seems unlikely unless Wisps Tiny get a little bit antsy and decide to relocate into the Darkseer. Probably not the hero that they want to relocate into, and it's most likely just going to be the Batrider, who's now smoked up, who will pretty much spot the target for the Wisp Tiny combination. They're going to go up top, and Solon, well, this might be his wall forced out. Both Shashlo as well as Cheshire Cat, they're smoked up, and they're on the prowl. Batrider not going to fly into the air just yet. He will now do so, and he sees E-skills. Blink, lasso, here comes relocate. Death Prophet is so many times dead.
Yeah, you can't commit a wall into that. You will just do nothing. Moon has so much burst damage. I've said that so many times this game. Now with an Aghanims, that's even more so. Sure, we all think, yeah, extra damage to buildings, extra cleave. The Aghanims, if I recall right, also increases the toss damage of the tossed unit by, I believe, what, 30%, I want to say? 50% at level 2, 65% at level 3, and you see how much power he has here. He just comes in, that's an Earthshaker. Now they're casually rotating around the map. Can they get anyone else, I wonder? You've got Steph Style and 8 Mother on this bottom lane, and they could be the order of business here. TP's come in. You've got J4 nearby as well. Ice Path's going to drop to hold back Moon a few seconds. On the back lines, you do have another fight breaking out. You've got the Batrider messing around with Solon. You've also got Ouija Zickers here, and an Ice Blast to fly, but still, there's pretty much nothing.
Everyone from Power Rangers looking for opportunities to get kills, but fortunately for 8 Mother as well as Steph Style, they will back off. They do still have the Chronosphere, however, and they're looking to use it onto anyone. Moon is going to be a tough kill because of that Craggy, but they will drop it nonetheless. Let's see how lucky Moon is. With Macropyre on the floor, he will be taking a lot of damage. There's no relocate to back him off, but he's still alive. He will die in the end. He does get one toss-off as his last final dying wish, and it's a nice kill for Coast that took quite a lot of time, and fortunately for them, no other Power Rangers heroes were in the area. They're going to try to go for this tower push. With level 2 exorcism, they probably can force it out. And, well, they'll have to worry about this blast coming in. It will hit onto a couple. Stepstyle going to get that chilling blast effect applied to him, and now Stepstyle throwing up into the air. E-Skill is going to lose a lot of damage to Slash though, but he's got to watch out because he's way far ahead of his entire team. Exorcism is popped, and it looks like Power Rangers, even though they're man down, they make the defense and they get the deny.
Yep, they do, and well, I will say picking up the Tiny was a very big kill nonetheless, but losing that tower is a very big deal here for Coast. They need this gold to keep flowing, and you can see the switching graphs. It was a 3k lead for Coast, and that's a very steep descent into a 1k lead for Power Rangers. Power Rangers also have that 3k experience lead that they've pretty much maintained this entire game. And it's, from where we stand, a interesting defense, because I expected Coast to be able to force that one and take it. I mean, at least force the buyback of the Tiny. Do they really fear the Razor, AA, Batrider, and Wisp that much without the Tiny?
Well, I mean, I guess the answer is yes, otherwise they would have gone for it. Razor, I feel like, hasn't even been a large factor in this game. He's kind of just been on the sidelines, whereas most of the focus has been on the Bat, Wisp, and Tiny. They've been calling most of the shots and making most of the kills happen. And the next kill is going to be on Roshan, as Coast, they are capable of doing this, and Darkseer, luckily for him, does have his level 12, so Wall of Replica is level 2. If they do smell this one coming, they will be able to crash this pretty nicely, and Power Rangers have to respect that. But Coast, I mean, they have Treasure Cat up on the high ground, so they do have, again, the initiation advantage, and they're going to jump forward for E-Skills, bring him back, try to drag him into the Roshan pit, but I don't think he's going to get there in time. Regardless, the damage should be there. There's a Chronosphere, though, onto 3. Sasha's going to be focused, but the beautiful Macro Pyre onto 3. They're all going to cook with the Fissure as well. They're not dying yet, but there we go. Moon is still alive, but now the wall of the illusion of Tiny does a lot of damage. Ouija 6 is the only one to escape from that, and can he fully escape? There's a surge forward for A-Mother. Has a Time Walk, will jump up. No, he won't. The Roshan is very, very low, so Coast can jump in and clear that one out, although with buybacks from the Tiny plus the Razor, the Power Ranger side want to contest this potential Roshan from Coast. They do have J4, who was not in that fight at all, just farming bottom lane, I believe, but instantly Power Rangers go right back into the Roshan pit, knowing that all these teamfight ultimates are down.
But equally, all of Coast now know the Roshan was there. They had an opportunity to try to force it themselves, but with those buybacks, that's still, in my mind, a win here for Coast. They've just forced 2 big core heroes to buy back. And those weren't cheap buybacks either, I will point out. But now with an Aegis up onto Moon, Moon going for a BKB, it's getting harder and harder for Coast to be able to take these fights. That fight there was pretty much the best thing they could hope for, and with 8-Mother being able to hack and slash away at that Tiny the entire fight long, that was near enough perfect for them, and considering we also now have a Blink Dagger up for the Earthshaker on Frigalite, the items Coast need are available. We equally have to consider we have Wall of Replica up in 22 seconds, Blink Dagger, Mechanism on the Darkseer as well. I think we can start seeing a committed 5-man push coming out of Coast a little more frequently than we are currently.
Oh, I totally agree with you. If they get that Chronosphere with the Macro Pyre again, then it's just going to be cleanup on Power Ranger side, assuming the Wisp doesn't yank anyone out or something like that. And it looks like, well, Coast are going to agree with you as well. They have the Exorcism active, and Liquid Fire is maxed out. They're just going to go for the mid lane. They have to respect the Aegis, which is on the Tiny, so focusing him, probably not the smartest of ideas, but then again, what alternatives do you have? There's a jump in for A-Mother, going to focus down on Schlosh though, and the Macro Pyre is there, he's going to burn. Razor gets no mech this fight. Moon now completely surrounded by enemies, and J4 off to the side is going to get slowed down. Moon struggling to actually catch up to anyone. He's going to toss Solo into the air and get the kill in the Darkseer, but that's going to be at the trade of the Ancient Apparition. Ice Path though, perfectly onto 3, will disengage Coast, and it looks like in the end it's just going to be a 2-for-2 trade. Shouldn't be anything else, although Moon looking for a Wisp Grenade onto Steph style, gets 4-staff forward, tosses the Dragon up, beat down, Jakiro is going to be the kill there. Ultimately Power Rangers getting the slight edge in that fight.
Slight edge, sure, 3-for-2 trade nonetheless, but if we consider what Coast actually invested for that, they didn't deploy the wall. They didn't use the Wall of Replica at all, and nor did they use the Echo Slam. These are 2 ultimates that could have turned that fight, and I'm sort of wondering if that was a bit of a miscommunication between do we go, do we stay? It could have been the case, and now we've got Moon barreling towards this tier 2 on the bottom lane. He does have backup in the form of the Batrider nearby, as well as the Wisp lurking far enough back to be out of range. And it would not surprise me at this point just to see a defense of this tier 2. Here we go. Blink, a TP in from Solan. He's going to maybe chase, maybe force it out, but he has to respect the potential damage coming out of that Tiny, should he want to chase. And no, he's just going to let it go, especially... Ooh. Oh, DD Tiny. Oh, hello.
Oh, that's what
This
you want to see.
Tiny is going to hit like a truck. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All Ancients dead. That's a 3 stack of Ancients as well. And what did he just buy with that money? His full BKB. Now with that BKB up, where do we go from there? AC? Possibly. Manta? Possibly. All of these items are possibilities in this game, and Moon has pick of the litter in what he could want. Sure, Manta probably less likely. AC would help him tank up against that Faceless Void, against the Exorcism, and give him that all-important attack speed, because that's what Tiny really cares about. Just the attack speed. I mean, it would not surprise me in the slightest, would it you?
No, I think Assault Cuirass on Tiny is, after the Aghanims, probably the best item you could pick up. Not only for yourself, in that he's facing down a lot of physical damage, but it's also going to help the team a great deal as well. And well, if Power Rangers can continue to take the, not as 5-on-5 clashy fights as much as the run and gun, constantly poking fights, disengage, engage, re-engage, all that kind of stuff, then they'll be able to take fights much as they did in that last fight, because then the Chronosphere doesn't get as much value, then the Macropyre and Echo Slam and Wall all get a lot worse. But right now, up 5, all heroes from Coast are on top as 5. And, well, Moon is going to be spotted. Ice Path will catch him. BKB up on 8 Mother. Can they kill off this Tiny? It'll only be his Aegis, so it's not really a huge deal there. Shasho off on the bottom end. Going to pop everything he has. He's going to be focused down. Throw up into the air with the Eye of the Storm active, though. 8 Mother's going to get a 3-man Chronosphere. They're going to focus down Shasho. Ancient Apparition going to throw his Ice Blast. 8 Mother and Step's going to hit by that. They will kill off 1. Death Prophet does get that. Echo Slam now onto 2. Moon going to pop the BKB and just go to town. Doesn't even want to use the Aegis and save the BKB for that. He's now going to 2-shot Frigolite. Oh, maybe 3-shot. Okay, that's fine, too. That's an easy kill on the Earthshaker. Cheshire Cat in the meantime chasing down 8 Mother. Does still have to lasso 8 Mother, trying to look for a time walk. Not going to happen, as J4 does get tossed in, though Cheshire Cat is the one to take the kill. Power Rangers, they get a whole ton of heroes caught in that Chronosphere, but now Solan trying to TP away, almost made it out, but almost isn't going to do it. He's going to surge himself and book it. There's no more mana on the Ancient Apparition, so Solan is going to deploy the wall now. A little bit too late for that. He's slowed down quite a bit. Cheshire Cat, not with much mana, however. The right click shouldn't be enough. Ancient Apparition, he's going to teleport back to the base. Please let it be a global ultimate. I want to see it land. Give it to me, J4. He's not going to fire.
No, there's no chance of it this time, I don't think. And by the time he gets there at this point in time, Solan will be too far regened up. But again, what you mentioned about the wall, yeah, I was surprised that wasn't thrown into the Chronosphere, considering they had the big vacuum into the Chronosphere with a 3-man Macropyre. That was absolutely pitch perfect with just the lack of the wall. And I'm honestly not sure why we didn't see Solan committed at that point. I mean, it would have made sense in my mind.
I think there's the possibility that he might have been forced to blink out super early in that fight, so while most of the Chronosphere was up, the Darkseer was a little bit too far away. I didn't get a good look at the Darkseer's positioning in that, but that might have been what happened. But either way, I mean, he did deploy the wall. It doesn't have the longest cooldown as far as big ultimates are concerned, so he'll have that up for the next fight. But they had a 3-man Chronosphere, and when you have that, you expect to get 3 kills. The Tiny walked away from that one. He still has his Aegis, and it's going to be eaten now, so a full HP restore for Moon. They have a relocate down in the bottom lane and top lane. It's a big smoke up once again for Coast. They're going to go for round 2 up on top. This Ancient Apparition should be a very easy kill. If they get the jump on him, there's the Yule Cyclone up, and I don't see the AA escaping this one.
No, there's no chance he's going to get out of this. But in comes the relocate. BKB's up by Moon. They want to fight, and you also get the grab back on 8 Mother by the lasso. But Fisher comes down. Still, you got Moon chopping people to pieces. But in comes the Chrono, trying to hold this. We just won't be able to fight this one much, and you can just see the entire fall back there. They waited out the relocate. They couldn't stop the tether, and they're gone out of this fight. Now you got Slashko fighting away with 8 Mother, but Exorcism still doing good work, and now Fisher's going to drop Yules to go down. But where are Wisp and Tiny while all this is going on? We get the TP in now from the Tiny. He wants to fight. He's back. He's bad, and he's ready to hit you hard, but they're not going to be able to get on point here. The rest of Coast are all falling back, so that's I believe, 2-for-1 trade in favor of Coast. And in the meantime, you've got Ouijasik. He might be brought down here. You've got the vacuum back, couple of chops away from 8 Mother, and that Battle Fury of his. That's more than enough to clean that one up.
Power Rangers, they get caught in the Chronosphere, which is usually devastating because you just die in there. But in this situation, Coast, they laid down the Chronosphere, you know, a couple of right clicks being thrown down here and there, a couple spells, but the Chronosphere was mostly meant to burn time from the Wisp Tiny to relocate, because they got yanked back to the bottom lane, and once that happens, Power Rangers, there is no way in hell that they could fight a 3v5 against 5 heroes from Coast that were, by the way, still at full HP, so Coast, they successfully waited out the relocate. It's usually not the way we see teams deal with a relocating Wisp and Tiny, but if you can get away with it, then why not? More power to you. And then, unfortunately for Coast, they didn't catch anyone on the way out once the relocate yanked the Tiny Wisp back, which so it kind of could have been even worse for Power Rangers, but all things considered, Coast, they don't really line up their teamfight ultimates again. I mean, Darkseer had an opportunity to drop a wall in that Chronosphere, but decided to hold it. Like, I've been watching the Darkseer I saw him in the last fight, watching him pretty intensely. He was just holding on to most of his skills.
I don't know. Solan's being very cautious with his application of wall, and we're seeing another push towards this top lane. And sure, if we look at the gold graph quickly while we've got a lapse in time, it's a 1,500 gold lead in favor of PR. The net worth on that Tiny is near 16,000, 15,300 at this point. It's becoming ridiculous, and he almost has that AC. He's already hitting like a truck. If he can get on target on any one of these heroes of Coast, that hero dies. It's now a ridiculously high uphill battle, and they force a fortification out of Coast in exchange, but tier 2 on the top lane will fall, and we do see the mass fallback. Do we see the push on the mid lane, or are we just going to see a bit of a stand down and look for a pick off?
Well, Coast have been absolutely fearless as far as grouping up as 5 and just going for a push. They still have all of their ultimates available, so I don't see why they wouldn't just, at the very least, go for it in A lane, or even go for Roshan. Either way, they will have a nice edge. Of course, fighting into an Ancient Apparition Blast, a Razor, and a Batrider in the Roshan pit is always very risky, but at the same time, they have a whole lot of AoE themselves. E-skills, if he wants to get this, he'll need the Exorcism to pop, but it doesn't have to be Roshan for Coast. They could just very easily go into any lane they choose and try to force a fight from Power Rangers. It may or may not benefit Coast in the end, but they're going to just dwell in this area for now. Pings for Roshan, and, well, they're probably just going to try to bait someone from Power Rangers to come in. It looks like Batrider might take that bait. Chronosphere is deployed, and Cheshire Cat's going to get beaten down.
Yeah, Cheshire Cat falls, so that's going to be a good advantage going towards Coast in the next fight. It takes away one of their big initiations, but speaking of initiation, in comes Moon. BKB up, chopping everyone to pieces, and you've also got Slash Throw, taking away all the damage from 8 Mother. He's going to have to leap across, but Jakiro getting caught out of position, drops the Ice Path, not going to be anywhere near enough. Sestal takes 1 swing, 2 swings, and down he goes. That's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Power Rangers at this point, but it may not be over yet. It could be time for Roshan. With that mass fallback coming from the entire lineup of Coast, what do they have to counter-initiate with off the back of the attempted Roshan? 44 seconds until Chronosphere is ready, and buyback from Jakiro says to PR, let's get the hell out of Dodge. We don't want to take Roshan, too much risk for a mess up in the pit. But now with AC finished up on Moon as well, things are getting oh so much harder for Coast to deal with.
That Tiny literally 100 to 0'd the Death Prophet. That is an absolutely scary amount of damage that this Tiny's popping out. And, you know, to be fair, the Death Prophet didn't get a BKB up, but they're going to go once again in onto Slash, though. He's not taking that much damage, however. Avalanche is going to miss, and the Ice Path will catch 2. Frigleet does still have an Echo Slam, but there aren't many creeps here, so it's just going to be just a hero Echo Slam, so you just got to count as many heroes as you could possibly get in that. 8 Mother's his ultimate is cooling down, and Coast, they're bringing all their forces to bear. Shlashlo still on the front lines, relatively fearless, but here goes 8 Mother jumping in once again with the Ion Shell and the BKB pop. He's going to get in the lasso, but Cheshire Cat instantly ice pathed up. Here comes Moon to the BKB, though. Can instantly go to town in Darkseer. There's a Chronosphere onto absolutely everyone, but can they get anyone killed? The Macrofire is burning down Shlashlo, and Moon's being the target of focus. Moon should be going down. We just sick. Can't relocate him out. He will get brought down in the end. Now We just sick, being eaten alive by the spirits. He's going to be devoured. Cheshire Cat in the back end. He might be focused on by Roshan, but in the end, Coast, that's the AoE team fight that we expected from them. That's exactly how it's supposed to go. Take a screenshot, put it in the textbook. Cheshire Cat is up on the high ground still, looking for a steal, but he doesn't have Firefly, so he doesn't have the vision. Throwing Tar in, and Roshan isn't dropping. He might get the Blink Dagger Firefly in. Firefly, do it, bro? No, I don't think he's going to do it. It's going to be a free
That would be incredibly ballsy. Yeah, it would be so incredibly ballsy, and you would have no recourse to escape that one, considering the Void can just leap after him. And speaking of Void, Void now has himself a Desolator flying out to him, which is going to help in terms of the physical right-click, sure, and bringing down that armor of the Tiny. But you say the perfect Chronosphere. That was the picture-perfect Chronosphere. It caught everyone, and then off the back of that came the Echo Slam. It was absolutely glorious in terms of the levels of carnage.
They had all the right pieces at all the right times, and well, that's a rarity because it's the first time in 36 minutes that it actually came together like that. If they could get this tier 3 tower, then they'll be really happy getting the tower and Roshan, but even with the Desolator minus armor on this Void, he's not going to go for that one just yet. He had a Mask of Madness, right? What happened to that? Did Phases Void have a Mask of Madness?
He did earlier. He's got rid of that, and to be honest, I don't blame him getting rid of that, considering the 30% extra damage he takes while it's up, and there's being a tiny on the board. Do you really want to have a Mask of Madness when that's up?
Yeah, it's not a good situation to be in as the Void, so he's going to have additional gold. That's why we don't see Desolator all that often on Faces Void, because the minus armor effect plus lifesteal doesn't play well together, and usually it's going to be Mask of Madness into the Maelstrom, so those two do play well together. They're just going to keep going for the mid lane, though. Exorcism is available, but he gets Blastoed back in. Moon caught the BKB, and now going to go to town on the Faces Void. Will bring down the Death Prophet instantly. Faces Void's going to pop right back up. Has a Time Walk, has a Chronosphere, but he's just going to try to book it. Solan's going to jump forward. However, he gets caught in the Chronosphere. They're going to focus down Cheshire Cat. They should be able to bring this Batrider down, but who else can they get? Solan slowly being burned down by the Eye of the Storm. He's going to drop, and now 8 Mother. He doesn't have a Time Walk just yet. He's being chased down. Avalanche and the Toss. Shashlo's going to keep sights onto 8 Mother, who's going to stop for a Hand of Midas, and it looks like the Faceless Void should be fine outside of Relocate, but Moon's going to teleport back to the bottom lane. Faceless Void gets away alive. With this Death Prophet, she does have the BKB, but that's not good enough at this point. She just needs more health, a Bloodstone, a Heart, something to survive this burst damage from Tiny.
Heaven's Halberd, I would say, not Bloodstone. Bloodstone's regen. It doesn't really give you much in terms of capacity, whereas a Heaven's Halberd would give you some strength. It would also give you the most important thing to her at this point, evasion. And she is past the point in terms of effective HP where evasion is better than straight health. When you get to 1800 flat health, then evasion takes over in best priority, mathematically at least.
And Tiny could go for an MKB if he does see that the Death Prophet's going to go for that. I don't think anyone else has any evasion, nor do they have any prospects for evasion. Maybe Faces Void will eventually get a Butterfly, but that's not going to come up for quite a long time. So Tiny will be shut down pretty heavily by that Heaven's Halberd, and his BKB dropping pretty low. So not only will he be missing attacks on the Death Prophet, but if he gets disarmed, then that is just unhappy times for the Tiny. He will be just a big pile of rocks that's not doing much. So someone on Coast should pick that one up, but it looks like Death Prophet instead going to hold the plate mail, going to go for the straight up Heart.
Either straight up Heart or potentially, at a low likelihood considering how much cheaper it is, Rod of Atos. It would also give us some HP as well as the slow.
I mean, it is an option for her, but I think this late in the game when you're able to farm this much, just probably just going for the Heart. I mean, Rod of Atos is a very good item on the Death Prophet, but her objective isn't to have that slow in order to catch up with people, because she has the movement speed and the Yule Scepter for that. It's just to survive. She just needs as much viability as she possibly can, because that's like twice in a row where the Tiny just got on top of her, 100 to 0, easy peasy.
I completely agree with that. And if the Death Prophet falls in these fights, it's going to cause such a problem. She brings so much damage to bear with Exorcism. Having none of that on the field is... I cannot state how big a problem that's going to be for Coast if that keeps happening. It is too big a way to put into words for me right now.
And now the Power Rangers have this whole Tiny Wisp thing going. They're going to just be roaming the map, farming everything that they get their hands on, while the rest of the heroes, well, they're not pushing up top lane just yet. They still have a couple tier 2 towers to get through. Looks like the mid lane is going to be brought down. Hero Catapult, not going to happen. Death Prop with a right click will deny that tower, so a little bit of a break for Coast, but ultimately a tower denied at this stage of the game, not really going to mean that much to anybody, so it's mostly just the map control. It means that Coasts are going to have to walk a little bit more if they want to reinforce a Roshan fight or something like that.
Just curious here. I'm not blind, am I? Does 8 Mother have himself an Oblivion Staff?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's an Oblivion Staff. I'm pretty sure I'm not blind either, so either we're both blind or that's an Oblivion Staff.
Refresher Orb, he doesn't have enough mana. He doesn't have enough mana with a Refresher Orb to be able to use everything. Not without someone popping Arcanes at least once, I believe. I mean, other options, it could be an Orchid, or it could be... Well, no, it has to be a refresher. Surely it's a refresher. Doesn't make much sense, though. But in comes the pings onto Moon. They leap in forward. They're going to look for the Chronosphere. Big Chrono does land onto Moon. And now they look to bring down the Tiny before he can have a big impact. But all the BKBs come in. Wisp trying to do some work to try to keep Moon alive. But Moon still falls. Instant buyback by the Tiny. And now on the backside of this fight, you do have HeflaTV brings down the Earthshaker before anything big. And we get a drag back. Lasso onto E-Skills. Down goes the Death Prophet once again. And double kill the way of HeflaTV.
The Razor does clean up that fight, making up for the fact that Tiny did go down. It's a really weird item, as you were saying, on the Faceless Void, because usually it's Aghanims into Refresher, but straight Refresher, I don't even know if that's the correct course of action. They threw everything that they had onto that Tiny. They invested pretty much all of their big team fight ultimates on him, with the exception of Wall, which is still up for the Darkseer. Death Prophet doesn't have an Exorcism for this upcoming fight. They do have an Echo Slam, but that's about it. And Moon with Overcharge is going to just go to town on this. He has a double damage rune in his bottle, saving that for a perfect occasion, and this seems to be the perfect occasion. Oh yes, this tower is going to take a lot of damage. Soul's going to jump forward for an Ice Path Vacuum combination just to slow down Power Rangers, but Tiny is going to like 5 hit the tower, you know, easily, and then 3 hit the Raxes, easy.
Okay, that's insane, but now we get the Yules into Ice Path. Can they bring down Moon before he turns around and takes another Rax? He can chunk this in 7 hits. No, he's going to try to go into Steph style, throws him up into the air, not quite enough. He uses the Chronosphere, but we do get that BKB pop. In comes an Ice Blast as well, but they're not going to be able to stop this one, I don't think. Or are they? Moon, low, will get relocated out last second. The Echo Slam completely misses off the back of that, and now we get Solon trying to charge in, trying to bring down anyone he can. J4 will be the target priority here, but finishing off him is not enough. They need to bring down the Razor or the Batrider minimum. And of course, in the back of this fight, Moon comes back in. He's going to find Solon, and Solon's going to get isolated. Instead, E-Skills is the victim, and E-Skills has been the victim this entire game. But Moon, he says he wants more. It's time for another Rax. And Tier 3 tower just getting butchered. This is the threat of Wisp Tiny. He even has a crit now on that Tiny. He cares not for your buildings. They no longer exist under the rock mountain that is Tiny with an Aghanims. And we have BKBs in the meantime. It's going to be Cheshire Cat looking to get whatever he can, but it's still, towers are falling. That's 2 full sets of racks down off the back of this one push, and there is no buyback here from the Death Prophet. There's no buyback from the Earthshaker, and Earthshaker, if he bought back anyway, wouldn't have Echo Slam, so his effectiveness is literally neutered.
And that relocate from Wisp, he tried it so many times, but he ended up tethering into a Chronosphere, which means that you're not going to be leaving that one. He got the Tiny out literally like a split second before the Earthshaker dropped his Echo Slam. If that Echo Slam landed, I am fairly certain the Tiny would have died, or at the very least, they would have gotten a little bit more time to kill off the Tiny. But Wisp got the Tiny out of dodge at the perfect timing, and then, well, coming back at full HP. It was essentially a free Aegis for Power Rangers. That's pretty much what happened with that Tiny. He narrowly escaped death, dropped down pretty low, took all that target focus, and then didn't go down, came back at full HP. And he just went to town on the entire base of Coast. And Coast, they have the Refresher Orb up on Faceless Void, but they could keep the Tiny still for a very long time. But then at that point, they're going to be lacking damage. And Tiny now with the Deadless, damage is not a concern of his, nor is survivability, really. He has 1 free item slot and then Boots of Travels to potentially upgrade. The rebuy of the BKB would be absolutely huge for him. But this Tiny is monstrous, and well, Coast, they're going to make a desperation push down mid lane. They're 2 Raxes down. They still have that huge team fight potential. But the question is, can they make it happen in the face of this huge Tiny? The answer is seemingly no, but, they do have a chance.
They have a chance, yes, and unfortunately, that's a Lotus Sphere. That is a Lotus Sphere. Boy. But in comes PR. They want to get something off the back of this one. BKB used by Cheshire Cat, and in comes HeflaTV. In comes the Tiny. Everyone dying. BKBs everywhere. The Refresher, the second Chrono comes out, but it's not enough. 8 Mother Force back. J4 wants a piece. Can J4 get it? One more right click could be enough for the AA to get the kill, but Batrider in the main fight will bring down the Death Prophet, and, well, I think Power Rangers have had enough. They're going to push for the main base, and if they can finish this one off, that is going to be all she wrote. And oh, that Lotus Sphere.
But that was also just an illusion rune, so it's really hard to make the difference because you can't really plan around an illusion rune, and when you catch a Tiny like that, you kind of just have to go for it. So it was a terrible Chronosphere, but at the same time, it's like you can't really blame them too hard. And well, off of that, Coast, they don't have any buybacks. Even if they did have any buybacks, they don't have any teamfight ultimates. So they're going to call GG and ultimately tie the series up, PR 1-1.
Indeed, it was one hell of a series, and these two teams need to go up against each other, I believe, up next in the Moscow Cup. I believe they're playing in a best of 3, so good luck to both of these teams going into that one.
Alright guys, that is going to be it for this best of 2. Power Rangers going to take it off of a really stacked Tiny. I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. If you do, make sure to follow this channel, twitch.tv/HeflaMoke. Also, HeflaTV 1 and 2. I believe HeflaTV 2 might be going on right now, though I'm not completely certain. So hit that follow button, and then if you want to follow us a little bit more in depth, go to the Facebook page, Twitter page. They're all below the screen. It's just Facebook and Twitter/HeflaTV. I'm Mike Loris. You can find me at Twitch and Twitter at Mike Loris, and he's Blackadder. You can find him at Mr_Blackadder on Twitch and Twitter. That should be it. Do you have anything else to say?
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you next time here on HeflaTV.
VODs will be on youtube.com/HeflaMoke, guys. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed it. GG.